Welcome everyone to the Mystery Box Show. I am Reba. I will be your mistress of ceremony this evening. If you are brand new to the show, welcome. If you are a returning fan, welcome back. You are at a storytelling event. We have 4 fantastic storytellers this evening who will be sharing true personal stories from their lives all about sex and sexuality and gender and energies. We have a wide variety for you to enjoy tonight. And before we get started, we're gonna say hi to Nicole. Nicole is our production assistant. She is going to be monitoring the chat tonight. I can see a bunch of you are already signing into the chat and talking, which is amazing. It's been a real blessing to be able to expand our audience from the stage to our global audience, which is you. And we would love to know where in the world you're tuning in from. So please let us know in the chats where you're tuning in from. Nicole can be responding to you during the show, so please write in with questions or comments, and I'll be chiming in every now and then when I can. And while we're waiting for comments to come in. Oh, we've got Adam coming in from Melbourne, Australia. Adam's been to a couple of shows, I see. I see we've got some folks from Portland, which is where we are. Well, I am, I should say. Our storytellers are from all over the United States tonight, which is really exciting. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Awesome. I see a bunch of questions coming in. New Jersey. Awesome, fantastic. Keep letting them come in. There is like a 30 to 40 second delay, so those will keep coming in. Please just let us know. We'll be calling it out throughout the show. We do have an amazing lineup for you tonight, and mid-show, we're going to have an opportunity for you, the audience, to do a little participation if you want to. We're going to have some giveaways. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that when it comes to the topic of sex and sexuality, that some stories might be more sensitive than others, and so please consider this a blanket trigger warning and to take care of yourselves accordingly. I also wanted to acknowledge one more thing. You can see underneath my name, and during all of the stories tonight, all of the storytellers have requested that we put specific hashtags with their names, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, we're going to get this party started. Our first storyteller is coming to you live from North Carolina, all the way across the United States from where we are here in Portland. We put a call out on FetLife for storytellers, and he wrote in with a pitch and said, I've got a great story. And we heard the story and we were like, yeah, you do. So we just can't wait for him to share it with you tonight. So welcome into your living rooms or wherever you are. The first storyteller this evening, TOFER Clark.
About a year ago, I came home from work and I started my typical nighttime ritual coming home from work. That was stripping naked, hopping on the bed, looking at some porn, and masturbating. That night, or that one particular night, I started thinking about what I was doing. And I realized most of the time while masturbating, I wasn't achieving orgasm. It was still fun, but I didn't have a lot of happy endings. So I started thinking about the time that I was putting in. And I calculated out that I was using up about 9% of my time playing with myself. And I realized that I wanted to try some other things. I was single, wanted to try some other things, and I needed to come up with a plan, an idea. Well, going back about 6 years ago, I was married, and my wife and I got to a point in our relationship where she wanted more sexual activity. However, because of some medications that I was on. I had difficulty responding and things like that. So she and I had a discussion. I realized it was an important part of a relationship. And I said, I really just don't know what turns me on. And she said, well, check out some porn, see what you find. Let me know. So the next few days when I had time, I got on and looked at some porn and typical old school stuff. But then one day I happened to go past this picture and went to the next picture, but then something went off in my head and I went back to the picture beforehand and I saw something I had never seen before. And I zoomed in, and there on the guy's penis was some sort of contraption that was holding everything in. It encapsulated his actual penis, and the balls were wrapped up with something. And I just kept on looking at it and thought, what in the world is this? So I kept on looking for something similar, and I started finding more and more and more pictures, but I didn't know what it was. So delved in a little deeper, found out it was male chastity. And it was showing the male chastity devices. And the more I looked at them, the more excited I got. I found myself at work during break looking at these pictures, and I was getting hard just looking at the pictures. And I would look at this type of device, chastity device. I would look at that type of chastity device. There weren't a whole lot of different variations back then. They boiled down to basically three different types: the belt type, which think about the medieval, one that can be just a sheath held on by a piercing, and then the typical, which is called a ball trap, has rings and then a sheath that goes over the penis. And that's the one that I just was enamored with. So I went home and I started talking to my wife, and I told her about this. And she thought, no, I don't know about this at first. But then I started showing her pictures, and she got interested. And then I lifted up the sheets and showed her I had a raging erection. And I think at that point she was hooked. So we started looking at different brands. What kind was I going to get? And we finally decided on this one particular one. She was in agreement, and we ordered it. She said, order it. So we did. And I even talked her into paying for the express delivery. And it came from the West Coast. So express delivery still took a little bit. But I was tracking it on my phone, and I saw it had been delivered. And right about the same time that I saw it had been delivered, my wife texted me and said 2 words: it's here. I packed up work and I went home. Luckily it was Friday. I could get off a little bit early. Went home, and there it was, this box, plain Jane brown box. And I opened it up, and there were all kinds of pieces in there. We took it back to our master bedroom, master bathroom. I started opening up the different packages, looking at all the different parts. And I thought, this is going to be like putting something together from IKEA. And it had no directions. So while I'm trying to figure it out, she's on her phone Googling. I'm trying to slide a ring up underneath my testicles, and then had to put another piece on the top, and then some pins in the back. And there's different sizes of everything. And on top of that, I had a raging erection. So whenever I was trying to get the actual sheath of the chastity device on my penis, it was just not working. Well, 45 minutes later, after calming down, using some cooling devices like frozen peas, finally managed to get it on, and I could not have been happier. There it was. My penis was now fully ensconced in a male chastity device, and what it did to me was it just magnified the fact that I had a penis, because I couldn't feel it. I couldn't touch it. It was just there, and there was not a dab burn thing I could do with it, which just drove me mad. It was fantastic. Well, we decided at that point, let's go to Walmart. So we loaded up the van and loaded up the kids, and off to Wally World we went. And I'm walking along and thinking, hey, this is great. I'm probably the only guy in this Walmart with a male chastity device. And I'm walking around, and I think we were in the home goods section, and it slipped off. Luckily, I had on shorts, and I was able to grab it, retrieve it before it clattered to the floor. And I leaned over to tell my wife that it had fallen off and I needed to go put it back on. She's not exactly the quiet type, and I don't know how many people nearby heard, but I did go out to the van in the parking lot of the Wally World, and I got it back on. Thankfully, I had a spare key with me. So got it back on, and things were great. It was exciting for me. It was exciting for her. We got into some BDSM stuff. I had absolutely no problem being a dominant over her, flogging her ass, while she still kind of controlled my release from chastity jail, so to speak. And things were doing really good. It was just a fantastic thing. And moving on to about a year ago, I was single and ran into the problem. 9% of my time. That's ridiculous. So I thought about it, and I went back and I started looking up male chastity devices again. And I looked through, and there were so many more variations. And I ended up finding some from a company in Switzerland. And they let me custom order a size of a ring and a size of a sheath. And I even paid to have a special translucent black device. Amazing. And paid for it to come from Switzerland as quickly as possible, which is really not that quick. But the same thing happened again, in that I found out that it arrived, and I knew it arrived, but they didn't leave it at my house. They took it back to the distribution center in Raleigh. So I packed up work. Luckily, I could get off work, and I drove an hour to the distribution center in Raleigh. I knew exactly what shelf it was on based on what told the girl where it was. She went and got it, brought it out to me. I went and got in the truck and opened it up, and oh my goodness, what a thing of beauty. Came home, and I immediately put it on. I had Googled previously to know how to do some certain things on how to get it on quicker and proper way of wearing it, things like that. And I ended up putting it on, and it felt great. And then other things happened. I didn't come home from work and strip naked and masturbate. I did come home from work and strip naked, but I cooked and I cleaned, and I even scrapbooked. I made scrapbooks. And the thing that I came to realize, that this small contraption that 6 years ago I had no idea what it was, but it completely turned things around sexually. It did one more thing, and that's the irony behind the entire male chastity device for me. By locking my cock I set myself free.
Topher Clark, everyone! Wasn't that I really love Topher's story because I don't think we've ever had a male chastity or any gender chastity story on our show before ever. So that was a really cool perspective that we've never heard before on this show. And I'm really excited to know that that's the secret behind actually being motivated to scrapbook. I have a bunch of things that I wish I would scrapbook, but I won't. But now I know what the answer is. Topher has actually agreed to show us one of his chastity devices at the after party after the show. So stick around for that. I definitely want to see that. I hope you'll stick around for that too. We are going to keep right on rolling with the stories. I wanted to mention, thank you everyone for telling us where you are tuning in from. We've got folks that I mentioned before from all over the place, and some that I hadn't mentioned yet, or we've got folks tuning in from Arkansas, from Israel, from Utah, from California. And speaking of Utah, this next storyteller grew up there, but she is living in Portland now. And actually, we met her through the show. She was a fan of the show when we were doing our stage shows here in Portland. We became quick friends, and over drinks recently, we were just having some girl talk, and she starts telling me all the sexy stuff, and I was like, girl, you've got to get this story on the Mystery Box show. And we are so happy that she agreed to do so. She is a plus-sized and disabled model and an incredible storyteller and friend. So without further ado, please welcome to the virtual stage, Catalina Ritzinger.
So there I was, 15 years old, on top, topless, straddling a mid-pubescent Riley. I was hooking up with Riley. This was the shit that I daydreamed about in math class. This is the stuff that had me adding experiences onto that slut card that I was working so hard towards. I looked down and I could see my luscious boobs coming out of my pink Victoria's Secret push-up bra. And just past that, I could see Riley's Justin Bieber haircut. And I was so turned on. He was into it, and I was into it. I was feeling myself, and I felt so sexy and so wanted, you know? I had always been kind of a boy crazy girl, and I also developed kind of before most girls. So it felt really good to put my curves to good use. One Thursday after school, I was rushing into my dance class because I was late, as per usual. And the girls had already started, so I got in line, counted myself in, and started to do pirouettes across the floor. I was spinning and started, a couple of times across, blazing across the floor, when all of a sudden I heard snap. And I didn't really know what was happening, but I knew that I was on the ground. And I'm sitting there on the ground. I don't know why I'm on the ground. I'm sweating. I started to get all beady, and the room started getting fuzzy, and sound was coming in and out, and all of my dancer friends were around me trying to help me get back up, and we were kind of like laughing, like, haha, you're so clumsy, let's get you back up. And I couldn't get back up, and I didn't know why, and I was just had this adrenaline surging through me. I was so confused and so embarrassed. And after a really grueling night in the ER and an emergency biopsy, I learned that the reason that I had fallen was because my femur snapped in half due to a tumor. I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a bone cancer. And that's when my life sort of flipped upside down. started to be attached to all these monitors and machines and IVs and people poking and prodding, and I was disabled now, and I had all these moments where I realized that I was kind of letting go of my body. I no longer control over who is in my space, and I kind of sort of gave my body over to science. It was time to figure out what was wrong with me and fix me, and in that process, I sort of lost autonomy. Things were really hard. I had to start chemotherapy, and during chemo, I wasn't allowed to be close to people. I wasn't allowed to hug people. I wasn't allowed to be in the same room as people. I had to wear a mask all the time. I had to wash my hands all the time. I had to have sanitizer all the time. And I was doing all that COVID shit before it was popular. So I'm living this really sheltered life of trying to protect myself. And in the process, I'm not allowed to even kiss my boyfriend. And I remember having a conversation with my doctor, and I was like, well, like, why can't I it's just a kiss. I mean, like, we won't use tongue. We'll like keep the spit in our own mouths. And she was like, well, if he has a cold and you kiss him, that kiss could be your death. So there I was, no kissing, no hugging. I had, no intimacy, absolutely none. And I was really secluded. It was a really long, grueling process. I started to get better, and I started to build back my independence. I moved out of my home with my parents, and I, slowly started building up the ability to go and do things on my own. No longer had my parents bathing me, taking me to the bathroom and all that stuff. I was getting used to this new normal. And throughout the process, there were various different experiences that sort of helped me ground and sort of find my way back into my skin. This one night I was shopping for a dress for my friend's wedding, and my whole closet was full of pajamas. I had to find something that was going to make me feel good and presentable at a wedding. I go into this boutique that's too expensive for my own good, and it's one of my favorites. But I go in there and I find myself looking at this dress. It's the perfect length. It's flirty and short, but still acceptable for a wedding. It's got this little flair to it. It's kind of floral. So I decided to try it on. Trying on clothing for me is not the best experience. I was on crutches and I didn't really like how I looked, but I put on this dress. And I had this moment in the mirror where I was looking at myself, and the dress had this beautiful little detail of just this deep neck. And then there were these little lacy ties all the way up. And behind the lacy ties, there was nothing but skin. And all I could see were my boobs. And I was like, oh shit, this is my boobs making a comeback. So I bought the dress. And it made me feel so powerful and so sexy. And I went to that wedding and I stayed on the dance floor all night long. Yes, I was in my wheelchair. Yes, I had a motherfucking good time. When I moved in with one of my best friends, we started going out on the town a lot more, and I was getting really out there. And one night she asked me, hey, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? And, in my head, I was like, well, I'm keeping it open. Not that anyone's going to ask me to do anything, but I'd like to hope. And she said, let's go to a mystery box show. I had no idea what a mystery box show was. But, just in case I didn't have a sexy date that night, I said yes. So we go into this theater, and it's incredible. I roll in, and I'm automatically greeted by people in colors and just really vibrant people, really couples, like beautiful couples and old couples and disabled couples. And I really felt like, oh my God, like this is such a rad place to be right now. We found our seats and again, still no idea what was happening. Throughout the night, people came on the stage and they told stories that were vulnerable and sexy and intimate. And, there was room for all kinds of emotions. I was laughing and crying and feeling, everything that you could feel when you're in a really good place. While I was in the audience, I sort of had a moment where I was like, I'm not just an outsider, like in watching this show. I'm part of this audience. I am these people here. I am someone who is sexual. I am someone who gets to celebrate that. And it was a really transformative night for me. So I went home and I uploaded my new picture from the Mystery Box show where I felt confident and sexy, and I started swiping. I swiped through a few profiles and came across one that I kind of liked. We started talking and it was going really well. I was really surprised, to be honest. I have a lot of insecurities as somebody who's plus size and disabled. And, there's a lot of barriers that I would think someone would have. Before I knew it, I was inviting him over to my apartment. And I let him in. And I was, we were going to watch a movie, right? Like I was going to I was in my sweats and my granny panties and my bun. And I had my fuzzy bunny socks on. So this was super chill night. I let him in. We say hello. We introduce each other. We introduce ourselves. And we get comfortable. I have to transfer over to the couch from my wheelchair at this point, which is not something I like a lot of people to see. It kind of really makes my disability a reality. Sometimes I feel like I can be in my chair and I'm just me. But as soon as I have to leave the chair, I just have to really be in this disability. I also didn't want him to be turned off. I didn't want him to see me transferring over and be like, oh shit, that's too real. We watched about 2 minutes of Grace and Frankie before we started sucking each other's faces off. And things got heated in the best way. I was still a little reserved, but really leaning into the moment. This guy started to pull down my granny panties. I had my reservations, but before I knew it, he was face first in between my legs. And then he kind of reached around me and gave me this big old bear hug. And I was really confused until all of a sudden I realized it was up in the air. He had lifted me up off the couch and brought me over to my bed. This doesn't happen to me. This has never happened to me. I'm a big girl. I'm hard to lift. He laid me down on the bed and we proceeded to have a lot of sex. A lot of sex. And he was rough with me in a way that felt really safe. And it was like he was treating me like I wasn't a patient, like I wasn't somebody that was delicate. And between one of our pillow talk moments, one of our breaks, he looks over at me and he says, I want you to sit on my face. And I laughed at him.
Hey folks, it seems like we had a little technical error.
We're muted. Go.
Hey folks, sorry, it seems we had a little technical error. That is the beauty of live streaming. Not a problem. We are on the phone with Kata right now trying to figure out how to get her back. I know that was just like leaving her at a cliffhanger, but don't worry, we're gonna get her back. In the meantime, I wanted to give a shout out to Adam and to Catherine for the super chats. Thank you so much. If you want to be even more engaged and show more support for the Mystery Box Show, the super chat is one way to do it right now. Another way to do that is to become a patron on our Patreon page, which you can do it for as little as $3 a month. There are different increments that can suit a whole bunch of different needs. Additionally, we have a PayPal at paypal.me/mysteryboxshow if you wanted to do a one-time donation. We also have a GoFundMe going right now. We have all these different avenues because, you know, COVID and live theaters, not a thing that we're able to do, but we're so lucky that we're able to do this live stream right now. It's also additional ways you can help support us that are not financial is subscribing to this YouTube channel and hitting that notification bell so you always see what's coming up next. We'll have a new Confession Corner coming out soon. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Tell people about the show. And if you have a story that you want to share with us yourself, pitch us your story. We would love that. Just go to mysteryboxshow.com and you will see pitch guidelines there. I'm looking over my shoulder at tech support. I'm going to check in with where we are with Catalina.
Okay.
I see she is unfrozen. Are we ready to go back?
We are.
Does she know where to start? Y'all, he wanted her to sit on his face. Let's go back to Catalina. Thank you for your patience and understanding while we work out these technical difficulties. Back to Kat.
So he said, I want you to sit on my face. And I laughed at him. I said, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can physically do that. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, well, do you not want to? Or like, are you afraid to try? Should we maybe try it? And I said, what the hell? Sure, let's do it. I'll sit on your face. He does this like bear hug thing again. And I realized he's grabbing me at the center of gravity, which is smart. He flips me around in sort of this like fidget spinner matter. And all of a sudden I'm on top and I'm sitting on his face. I'm literally doing it. I'm sitting on his face and it was good. It was really good. And I'm having this moment of like, oh my God, I'm doing it. This is what this is like. Holy crap. And I also had this moment of like, I'm like breaking up all these myths that I had created about myself, about my abilities, about my disability, about my sexuality. And while I sat on top of his face, I realized, he might have been the first person to ever help me break down those walls and those barriers and those myths that I had created. But he definitely won't be the last.
Amazing, Catalina. Like a pro, straight through those tech difficulties. He certainly won't be the last. To all of you tuning in right now, we had joked before I wanted to do an overlay of just her phone number because, sorry, am I allowed to say this? She's a hottie and of course he's not going to be the last. I'm not going to put her phone number up because of privacy, but ways to contact all and all of the information about the storytellers and things that you might have questions about will be in the video description when we do the replay of this. During the description now, because Eric, our tech person, is on top of things all the time. So thank you so much for your understanding during that tech bit. As I was saying during that little hiccup, thank you so much for the super chats that have been coming in. So many of them. I already thanked Adam and Catherine, and thank you, Pooja, who likes it when I call her princess. She's a fan of the show here too. We miss seeing all of our in-person fans here at our stage show, but we're so glad that we've been able to widen this net to the global audience on YouTube. It's amazing. And thank you to Jack for your super chat, and to the real Caleful for your super chat. All of this really helps a lot while we're not able to do a stage show with ticket sales. And again, if you wanted to make a one-time donation, you can do so through PayPal or through our GoFundMe, and that information is on the screen below right now. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We always want to show our gratitude to our audience members who make this show happen. Really, if you weren't here to listen, we wouldn't have much to share. So as a token of our appreciation, we're going to do 2 giveaways tonight. And the first one, it's pretty impressive. I want to show to you. This here is a gift basket brought to you by CLONE-A-WILLY. If you haven't heard of CLONE-A-WILLY, it's exactly what it sounds like. You can clone your favorite, it doesn't even have to be your favorite. You can clone any penis that you want to. This one is bright pink and it's vibrating. So it turns into a vibrating dildo, essentially, of any penis that you want. I can't think of a better quarantine gift. Can you? Like, what else have you got going on? Not to minimize busy people right now. We're certainly busy, but come on, CLONE-A-WILLY, amazing. And that comes with all of this chocolate that you see here from Missionary Chocolates. Now, they are local to Portland, run by a naturopathic doctor, Melissa Berry, who is a delightful, beautiful person. All of these chocolates are vegan and gluten-free. There's their variety pack. We've got some gummy bears. I say gummy because I'm German. Also these vegan marshmallow barrels and chocolate-covered potato chips. Are you kidding me? So this is one of the giveaway baskets that we're going to be doing. The other one, we're going to do a little bit of toy demonstration from Fun Factory. They actually have this new dildo that I'm loving. If I can get it unsuctioned from the table. As you can see, it's got a suction base. So this suctions to like your shower wall or to the floor or whatever. And this looks just like your average dildo, right? Wrong. It of course has this little base here, not just for suctioning, but you can put this into a harness. But get this. This is the Limba Flex in a medium. It also comes in a small. It just bends to your whimsy. Like, whatever shape you want this to be, it will be. This is a customizable dildo. So great, made from, antibacterial silicone. All of Fun Factory's products are so great. And so this is one of the items in the giveaway. And along with that is the Manta. The Manta is a vibrating stroker, which I will demonstrate on this banana. So I'm not sure how well if you can hear this at all. Actually, I'll show it to you. This is the idea. All right, you'll take an erect banana and you stroke and vibrate. It's got 6 different settings, 6 different patterns. It's fully submergible in water. It has grooves all along it that holds lube. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but I can't personally speak for this product because I don't have a penis. That's not true. Well, no, I don't own any penises, but I have a couple penises that are regularly in my company. Let me backtrack. Any penis who has used this that I know has told me that this is a really great product. So this is the Manta, and we will be giving away both the Manta and the Limba Flex in medium in a gift basket, as well as that Missionary Chocolates and CLONE-A-WILLY. How do you win one of these baskets? Well, I'm gonna tell you a little story. I don't like lube. To be fair, I don't like most human-made product that goes in or on a body. So like gels that you might put in your hair, or lotions that go on your skin. I don't even wear deodorant, which perplexes my sister to this day because I promise you, I smell like cookies and flowers, but I haven't worn deodorant in over 20 years. And all of this translates into lubes as well. I can't really explain why, and I'm not shaming products or lube shaming anybody out there. This is just a personal aversion that I have. And luckily, from the time I became sexually active, I never needed lube. I am just a person who's naturally very wet, kind of all the time. Like you can say the word sex and I'm ready to go. So this was never an issue. It wasn't until like my late 30s that my body began to change and I started to recognize the benefits that lube could have on my body. I didn't need it all the time, but it definitely enhanced the experience physically if I could have it. And my partner at the time, Justin, was really into lubes. Like he was a connoisseur. He had all different kinds and he would use it on his own or in conjunction with me. But I was very specific. Now, I did not like using lube and I would rather not, but I wanted to please my partner and I didn't want to yuck his yum. And so sometimes I would say, sure, we can use lube tonight. But I was very specific about it. Like it had to be water-based, all natural, organic, like harvested from the Himalayas, sprinkled with fairy dust. I was very high maintenance when it came to lube because it grossed me out. And so he would comply and you know, the sex physically was great with it, but like emotionally, mentally, a part of me was always thinking about the fact that there was this substance that grossed me out, like in and on my body, which kind of took away from the sexual experience. But it was what it was. So one day, I'm reading this wellness magazine, and there's an article all about the benefits of including coconut oil in your diet. I have a lot of opinions about this, but there were things that I had read already. And I don't cook with oil most of the time, but when I do, it's coconut oil. And I already use coconut oil on my skin in lieu of lotion because lotion grosses me out. But then I get to this part of the article where it says that you can use coconut oil as a natural lubricant for sexual activity. And I was like, what? This was brand new information to me. And it was awesome because coconut oil did not gross me out in any way. And I thought, I can do this. This article is saying that I can put coconut oil in my face hole, but also in all of my sexy holes. Hashtag all the holes. And so I drop the magazine, I run out the door to the nearest grocery store, and I find the largest economy-sized, like restaurant-style jar of organic, unrefined coconut oil. It's like 4 or 5 pounds. It's huge. And I bring it home and I rush through the bedroom door where Justin's like sitting there reading a book. It's like 5 p.m. or something. And I'm like, Justin, I just discovered that we can use coconut oil as lube and it doesn't gross me out. Are you in? And he's like, yeah, I'm in. That's great. He drops his book. He drops his pants. Clothes are flying everywhere. And we start just like painting each other with coconut oil. It's like a Jackson Pollock painting in there. And we're rolling around in it. He tosses me over onto the bed. He comes on inside and he is fucking me like I'm a slip and slide. Like there's no part of my body that isn't covered in coconut oil. And it's fun. And it's good, and it feels great, and it smells nice. And I'm not grossed out in the least bit. when suddenly we hear this weird sound. And it stops us in our tracks. And he's looking down at me and he says, "What was that?" And I have no idea what that was. And we hear it again. And then out of nowhere, Justin like flies off of me and I hear him land on the floor next to the side of the bed. And he says very loudly, "No, bad dog." And I look over on the floor from the side of the bed, and there is my tiny 12-pound schnoodle dog, face deep in this huge jar of coconut oil. Now, if this had happened in the kitchen, like while I was cooking, I would have been like, bummer, I'm super irritated that my dog ate the coconut oil and now I have to throw it away. But because this was in the bedroom, during sex, and I'm still associating this coconut oil with lube in this moment. My dog is essentially eating lube while I'm trying to have sex. And I can't help it. I start to gag. And Justin sees this happening and he goes, "No, no, no, it's fine. We're just gonna scoop off the top and everything will be fine." And this makes me gag even more, to the point, I mean, I look at my dog and her beard is like slathered in coconut lube and her whiskers are covered and I'm just gagging to the point where I throw up in my mouth just a little bit, but enough. And to be fair, my dog had never been a problem during sex before. She wasn't one to jump on the bed. She never got up in our faces while we were doing it. Never. It was only for the fact that there was a 5-pound jar of food in the bedroom while we were fucking. And the reason that I'm telling all of you this, is because we want to hear from you a time when you invited food into your bedroom. You can text your confession to the number on the screen, a time when you invited food into your bedroom. We're about to take about a 7 to 8 minute intermission, so text in those confessions. Also, when you're watching the show right now, take selfies of yourself watching the show and text those into this number as well. And when we come back, we're gonna read some of those confessions. At the end of the show, at the after party, we're gonna choose 2 winners. You can only win if you text in your confessions, and you will win this CLONE-A-WILLY missionary chocolate basket or this Fun Factory basket with your confessions. We will see you in about 7 minutes. Text in your confessions and your selfies. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for texting in your selfies and also your confessions about that time you invited food into the bedroom. I want to give a shout out and a thank you for the super chats from Soccer Ladybug and from Rose. I'm going to read a couple of these confessions now because they are delightful. Oh, they're coming in. The phone is buzzing as I'm saying this, but here's one. I have not pre-read any of these, so here we go. Well, the first time I brought food into the bedroom was with my ex, who knew I loved butterscotch. Ooh, this could get sticky. She covered our bodies in butterscotch. What do you mean? Like, okay, sorry, too much commentary. I'm just gonna read. She covered our bodies in butterscotch, and it was absolutely delicious until we started to stick together and it was sealing our bodies together. It was horribly painful pulling apart. It was stuck in our hair and everywhere. It was yummy while it lasted though. So that was my question. Like, was it a sauce? Like what I'm picturing is like a can I say Hershey or will I be banned from the internet? Like I don't support Hershey, but like Hershey or Nestle, which I don't support any of them. Anyway, like the kind that you pour into beverages, is that what you use? Or were they like melted candies? Either way, super sticky. All right, here's one. Not my story, but one time in college, my housemate had a coworker who said that she had a fantasy of having sex in a bathtub full of spaghetti. So, we went shopping and bought all the spaghetti in the store and spent an entire day cooking spaghetti to fill up the bathtub. And then he invited her over. It worked out very well for him. Oh my gosh, who is this person? And can you please tell them to pitch this story to our show? I want to know about spaghetti sex in the bathtub. All right. On a hot summer day, we discovered that ice cubes have other uses than just keeping my partner's drink cold. Amazing. Seriously, this phone has been buzzing nonstop since I started reading these, so we have a lot more confessions that we're going to read to you a little bit later. Additionally, if we don't get to your confession tonight, we film a series called Confession Corner in between these mystery box shows, which you can find on our YouTube channel, which you are watching right now. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified as soon as the next Confession Corner is live, and you will hear some more of these confessions. Moving on, I want to give a big shout out to an additional live stream sponsor, Shebop, who incidentally has been with us from the very beginning. 8 years of storytelling. They have been our sponsor this entire time. They are local to Portland, but they have a website, sheboptheshop.com, where you can buy things from anywhere. And right now, we really want to showcase their classes because not only do they have amazing products, but they also have fantastic classes, which they have totally put on virtual during this pandemic time. And so right now they're having an online sex and relationship class. Also back that ass up. And they're doing erotic hypnosis class. Two of those three instructors we can vouch for sure because they've been storytellers on this show a couple of times, and they're good friends and they're amazing people and great sex educators. So please check out sheboptheshop.com for their products and also for their classes. And we've got another storyteller for you that we're really excited about. We heard them on the Gender Reveal podcast and thought, wonder if they would have some stories to tell on our show. So we contacted them and they were like, hell yeah, I do. She is an actor. He is a drag king, and they are an incredible storyteller. So get your ear holes ready and please welcome into your homes VICO ORTIZ.
All right. So about a year and a half ago, I was going through a bit of a sexual awakening. I was a yes and kind of guy, trying new things with new people, and it was a lot of fun, but I didn't necessarily start on the right foot. So I used to frequent this tequila bar in Echo Park every week on Wednesday nights. It was their queer night, and I loved the vibe. I was friends with the bartender, and anyway, that was like the place to find me every Wednesday. And that night, I was supposed to meet up with my friend. Let's just call him Z. And Z and I had already had some fun evenings together in the past, and they were in town and hit me up to go home with them that night, and I was pretty excited. So I was like, meet me over there. And I get there early as usual to catch up with my bartender friend, take some shots, and then I see W coming into the bar. Now, W and I have been fucking every night / morning for about a little bit over a week now. I didn't tell them that I was going to be at that bar that night, but again, that was like the spot to find me. So there I was. W was coming in expecting another evening / morning of sex, and Z was arriving soon, expecting an evening potential morning of sex. No, W knew that I wasn't looking for anything serious, that I was also seeing other people, and that they should also, feel free to do the same. Now, I'm saying this to W, but I have spent every night with them that week. And not only have we spent every evening fucking, but we've been cuddling, had late night talks post sex. I've gone to their job to visit them. So I'm seeing them walk in and I'm like, fuck, I am in so much trouble. How the fuck am I gonna get out of this? And then Z comes in. So now my anxiety is like through the roof. They've never met. They don't know of each other. So is this maybe like a chance for me to suggest a spontaneous threesome? I mean, do I even have time to have a one-on-one talk with each of them? Like be like, hey, W, what's up? So I was actually planning on spending the evening with Z tonight, and then be like, hey, Z, what's up? Someone else in this bar, I'm also fucking, just like FYI. But instead of doing any of that, I go into panic mode and scan the bar for the friends that I was not fucking, and decide to have like a little powwow queer circle of friends so we can all get to know each other and kind of like find a diversion. And it starts working. I'm like, great, I think I have time to figure out an escape route with Z without W noticing. Super douchey move, super classy. And as I'm figuring out my escape plan, W comes behind me, grabs me by the hips, pulls me towards them, kisses my shoulder and my neck. And I'm like, to like W. And then I can just like, from the corner of my eye, I can feel Z's like flame laser eyes on me, just like disappointment, shame, all the things. I'm like, fuck, I really fucked up. I really did. But the decision's been made. W claimed me in public, so I guess I'm going home with W that night. And as I am on my way to W's place, I get a text from Z saying, we gotta talk, which I was expecting, obviously, but it still feels shitty. So the next day, I meet up with Z at this cute little park, and they were already waiting for me there with a blanket. And the second I sit down, they immediately said, you really hurt my feelings, VICO. I know you just went through a breakup, and I know you don't want anything with anyone, but did you really need to invite someone else that you were fucking to that event? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you at all. And I was actually really looking forward to going home with you last night. I didn't invite them. Like they just know that I go there every week, and they showed up to surprise me, and I panicked. I'm so sorry. And that made them feel a little bit better, but they still said, well, you gotta be way better about this. Like if you're gonna be a fuckboy, AKA like man slut, man whore, you should read Ethical Slut, because it would have been nice to have a heads up, and you should be way clearer about your boundaries. And with that, I thanked them for the advice, and I apologized again, and I left. But to be honest, like at that time, I really was just like, whatever, like they're being too sensitive about this. Like we weren't even dating, like bye, right? A couple of weeks after that, though, I am throwing a cocktail party at my apartment, and I invite a bunch of people from all my walks of life, including some folks that were piquing my sexual interest. And at this point, I'm like, I've distanced myself quite a bit from W at an attempt to reinforce my freedom, but because W is best friends with my best friend's girlfriend, W shows up to this party, right? Again, I have put myself in a position where I am stressed because I can feel that there's a few people trying to get my attention, trying to see if they're gonna end up staying the night with me in my apartment, giving me little googly eyes, trying to be like, hey, where are you? What's up? And I'm just like too busy playing host, and I can't really have a talk with any of them. So then the evening starts like winding down, and W comes up and takes this opportunity to ask me if we can talk in private. So I take them to my bedroom, and we're sitting at the edge of the bed. And when I sit down, I can already see in their eyes, they're like a little bit watery. So I'm like mentally preparing to sound like an asshole yet again. And they say, I know you don't want anything serious, but I still expect to be respected and to be informed. And the way you were treating me a few weeks ago and the way you're treating me now makes me feel really shitty. And I took a deep breath in and said, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure out how to go about all this. And like, I'm not trying to fall into another relationship. And when you claimed me in public, it triggered me. And I should have been clearer about that boundary earlier on. To which they said, thank you for saying that. Well, do you want me to stay over the night? And I was like, no. And then they were like, well, can I get a kiss goodbye? And I was like, I know we're in my bedroom, but the door to the living room is still open, and like people can see, AKA people that I kind of low-key wanted to fuck that night. So I rather not. And with that, a tear fell on their cheek and they left. Now, I know you're probably thinking, damn, VICO, you're such a douchebag. And honestly, I don't blame you. Like, you're right. I was absolutely a douchebag. It was my first time being single in a very long time. And I didn't want to be in a relationship, but I wanted to have sex. But I was never not in a relationship. So my default in treating women and queer folk was with the intention of dating them to eventually become their significant other. I've never done a happy medium. I didn't know anything about boundaries. And I also had a very heteronormative narrative where I wanted to be my significant other's everything and vice versa. And that's just not how it goes. So obviously, while I was unlearning all of that, I unfortunately hurt some people along the way. Now, a month afterwards, I was at this like dyke queer folk party at a leather daddy bar, and there was a corner selling some kink supplies with this mistress doing some demonstrations and trying out stuff on people. And I looked at it and I was like, that looks like fun, but like my friends are over there, so I'm just gonna go catch up with them. So I'm with my folks, with my peers, and this mistress just comes over to my crew and says hello to one of my friends. Apparently they go way back. And then she addresses the whole group saying, anyone want to get shackled and spanked? I'm getting pretty bored over there. And my friend looks at me and says, yo, VICO, you ever been spanked? And I was like, nope. And then they were like, well, do you want to? And I was like, I mean, yes, I am kind of guy. So sure, yeah. But then I see my friend handing over this mistress like a good thing of cash and says, take care of VICO. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? So I go over to that corner with her, and she grabs these shackles that were hanging from a beam and straight up just starts telling me what to do. put your hands up and lower your head. So I do, right? And she's pretty rough, but also gentle while putting them on. And then she asks, are they too tight? And I shake my head, no. And then she takes out this like whip from her magical kink toy chest of magic and says, from 1 to 10, let me know if this is too hard. And I'm seeing the whip, and internally I was like, this is like really hot, but like low key, I've never done this. I'm also kind of scared, but I didn't say any of that. I was just like, okay. And then she was like, okay, what? In the air. And I was like, fuck, I already fucked up. I got her angry. Like, what the fuck did I just fucking do? Jesus fucking Christ. And I was like, oh, of course, she's a mistress. I can't just say, okay, what the fuck? Okay, mistress. And then right on my back. And to my surprise, it wasn't that bad. So I say, 5, mistress. And she chuckles and says, good boy. Well, I'll keep it around that. I don't want to scare you on your first time. And she kept her promise. I mean, she was taking real good care of me. At the same time, she was beating me up. And after using the whip, she unshackled me. And I thought we were done. So I was going to be like, thank you. And then go back to my people. And then she was like, I'm not done with you. Are you done with me? And I'm like, how is she making me feel this turned on? Like, what the fuck? So I say, I'm not done with you either, mistress. And then she points out to this horse table and says, I want you to bend over that table and arch your back. Yes, mistress. And I bent over, and from the corner of my eye, I can see her pulling out from her magical kink toy chest of magic a flogger. And now I'm like, this is gonna get heavy. We've achieved the point. And then she's the same thing she said earlier. 1 to 10, let me know how much this hurts. And right on my ass. And again, to my surprise, not that hard. So I say, 6, mistress. And then she says, well, can you handle more? And I'm like, yes, mistress. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that one was definitely an 8. So I report back as instructed, 8, mistress. And then she says, good. Do you like being scratched? And at this point, my heart is racing with desire. And I'm like, yes, mistress. And she starts scratching my back from my shoulders all the way down to my ass. And then scratching the side of my leg, again, all the way up to my ass. She's going back and forth between like soft scratches and hard flogging, and I was losing my fucking mind. I was craving her every touch. We didn't have any type of intercourse or what I categorize as sex, but I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. I was the wettest I've ever been. I was so happy, and I wanted more. I wanted to learn how to do that to someone and have someone do that to me as often as possible. So afterwards, we chatted a little bit, and then she gave me her card for a workshop on BDSM one-on-one that she was going to have later that month. And then when the day arrives and I go over to her dungeon, it was definitely not what I was expecting at all. Like, I was thinking I was going to end up in this like super, super dark, like almost medieval type of dungeon. And it was the polar opposite. Like, everything was white, high ceilings, super amazing, fantastic natural lighting, like an industrial aesthetic with like a minimalist kind of vibe, like super, super neat. And that was just the beginning of how that workshop was going to change me. It was fairly packed. I'd say like around like 30 people, mostly couples. And I did show up with a friend who was also interested in trying out stuff with me. And I honestly thought we were going to learn how to whip each other up. But then she started explaining and dismantling so many uninformed societal beliefs in the BDSM community. I mean, she talked about negotiating and expectations before, during, and after a scene, both as a dom and as a sub, and how much care and communication is not only like required, but vital in a healthy BDSM relationship, and how you can apply all of these principles in any other relationships or situations in your life. And I started thinking about that night that I met this mistress and how clear she was about what she was going to do to me, and then proceed to do exactly that. I knew what she was going to do, and it still felt exciting. And I still felt taken care of. I wasn't scared. I was looking forward to it. And then I started thinking about how I was with W and Z and how toxic and misleading I was with both of them. I mean, I thought I was being clear, but my words weren't matching my actions. I was changing and moving my expectations without consulting them, without negotiating with them. So yeah, I mean, BDSM changed my life for the better. I mean, not only am I comfortable with establishing boundaries both in BDSM and other life scenarios, I've gotten to play with some incredible people that I care for very much, and I've tried things that I would have never in a million years thought I'd be doing, and have gotten to experience a different way of being vulnerable without it becoming toxic or codependent.
That was VICO ORTIZ, everybody. Fantastic. I have heard so many people say virtually the same thing, that BDSM and learning how to negotiate has been so good for just communication in general across the board. What a fantastic story. VICO is coming to us live from Los Angeles, California. So thank you, VICO. So much. Amazing story. I have a couple confessions from all of you. And remember, if you have questions for VICO or Catalina or TOFER, write them in the chat, and Nicole's taking notes, and we'll talk about it all. You'll be able to talk to the storytellers during the after party. I also wanted to say to you, for all of you who were enjoying the Manta and the Limba Flex, all of Fun Factory's toys are 20% off for anybody listening or watching the show tonight if you use code MYSTERYBOX at their website, funfactoryusa.com. Any of their products, not just these, but these also. Okay, let's hear some confessions. This one came with a photo that I'm not going to show you right now, but maybe later at the next show. We interrupted our so there's a photo of 3 people together, and one of them has an item up at their mouth. It says, "We interrupted our long afternoon sex session to incorporate this zucchini into the mystery box experience. It's my 60th birthday." They put their name too. Should I say it? No. Okay, I'm not going to say it because we keep all of these anonymous. But happy birthday, and thank you for watching the show. I've never used zucchinis in my holes. Cucumbers, yes. Zucchinis, no. But I'd like to hear more about zucchinis, though. Because they're kind of furry and prickly, so I want to hear about it. Text us more. Call me. Food confession. My boyfriend insisted there was no difference between fudge sickles and pudding pops, but I maintained that there was. He also hates food in the bedroom, but he's also a masochist. This is the best. So one day I tied him up, acted like I was gonna get really sexy, blindfolded him, and then this is amazing, and then face fucked him aggressively with fudgesicles and pudding pops, alternating, telling him to guess which was which. And guess what? He could tell a difference. Amazing. Okay. I feel like I'm on Confession Corner right now, and I want to just comment, but stay tuned for Confession Corner. We've always filmed them the day after the show with all of these confessions. So keep them coming in with that number that was on the screen. Keep texting in your confessions, because we will read them at Confession Corner. All right, confession. I have always been interested in pushing myself sexually. I had been reading a bunch about stretching my vagina and using bottles and cans to do the job. I got myself on camera in front of my computer so that I could see myself. And needless to say, I used a can of, a can of Coke? Like a can? Like this sized goes in the hole, okay? just so we're all on the same page. That was a can of wine because I'm classy. Okay, needless to say, I used a can of Coke and a bottle of champagne to masturbate. I did not allow the liquid to go up inside of me due to fear that the liquid would upset my body. But as I write this, I wonder what some of those magic bubbles would do to me. Well, if you find out, let us know. Inquiring minds want to know. Folks, we will read a couple more of those confessions at the after party. Stick around after the show. You're going to see a chastity device from TOFER. You'll get to ask questions and interact with each other, but ask questions to the storytellers and to myself and to Eric if you want to. He's the other producer and he's on tech. But we have got one more storyteller for you. I do want to thank everyone once again, for your support, for being here and watching all of these shows, for your support financially through the super chats and also through PayPal and the GoFundMe. We've been getting some of those coming in. Again, that's paypal.me/mysteryboxshow. Our GoFundMe, you can do a search for Mystery Box Show. We've got one more storyteller for you this evening. This one is really, really special. They've all been special, but this one, this storyteller and I went to college together over 20 years ago. We went to the University of Northern Colorado for performing arts, and he wrote an article recently for an online queer newsletter. And I read it, and immediately I invited him to tell an oral version of this written story. I said, would you be open to a collaboration for this? And he said yes. I'm so glad that he did. This one's really close to my heart. He is a Broadway actor, a singer, a dancer, a writer, a storyteller, a friend. And I'm going to let his story speak for itself. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Jason VEASEY.
So, I'm at a dance rehearsal, and I need help. I'm in a dance rehearsal as dance captain for the world premiere of a show that I've been working on for 7 years, and I'm fucking lost. I have no idea what's going on. I'm looking over, and the choreographer, Raja Feather Kelly, is looking up and down, and he has this thing that he does where he's looking at you, and you can tell that he knows something, and he's not going to answer you and tell you what he knows. He's going to just let you figure it out. I am so at a place of loss, helplessness. And right at that moment, I have this kind of Raven Simone, that's a Raven, shh moment where I go back to myself at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I'm in my bedroom. And in my bedroom, I am at peak FMSTA. FMSTA is what my dad refers to as Future Miss Things of America. I am this little femboy who was putting on shows in his room by his lonesome, lip syncing to Paula Abdul, Janet Jackson, Anita Baker, oh my God, Mariah Carey, Freddie Mercury, but mostly Anita, Mariah, Paula, and Janet. Just living my best life. In that room is where I learned confidence and imagination and whimsy and freedom. It's also where I protected myself. It's where I nurtured myself. It's where I just had the best time from the outside world. But there came a point around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, where certain things start getting said about you. Faggot was a word that was the outside world. Queer was maybe something that was also in the outside world in a school. But one of the first few times I heard this word sissy was I overheard a family friend, Mr. Golden, talking to my mom. And he said, why you let that boy be such a damn sissy? Why let that boy be a sissy? You know, this was said to my mom, who, if I wanted a My Little Pony, I got a My Little Pony. If I wanted a Barbie, I got a Barbie. She let me be me. And at that moment in time, a couple of things happened. The first thing was I didn't realize I was a sissy. So it was almost like Jason separated and there was sissy. The second thing that happened is I don't remember being hurt, but I do remember wanting to make sure my mom didn't have to deal with that anymore, you know? So sissy went to the side, and then came boy. And boy was grounded and fun and great. And together in my bedroom, Jason, sissy, and boy put on shows. If there was a duet, boy came through and sang with sissy. Sometimes Jason stepped forward and they were my backup dancers. This was also amongst the stuffed animals and posters and things like that in my bedroom. And boy became kind of, let's call it a spokesmodel. Not really a spokesmodel, that's a little too girly, a spokesperson. So flash forward to junior high school, and I'm at a performing arts junior high school, and the upcoming production is Bye Bye Birdie. And I really, really wanted to be Conrad Birdie, which is this character in the show that is based off of Elvis Presley. Well, I didn't get cast as Conrad Birdie. I got cast as Harvey Johnson, who was this geeky teenager. And I was just so thrilled to be in the number anyway. I was super excited. And the run happened, and we're at the cast party, and we're watching the tape of Bye Bye Birdie. And I see myself, and all I see is limbs, flimsy wrists, and a sissy. And that's when I realized that's why I didn't get Conrad Birdie. I got to do something else. So at that point in time is when it was decided that sissy would not be hidden, but sissy would only be in the bedroom and would step to the side a little bit, and boy would become the person that spoke for all of us, even more so. Boy was going to make sure that I got George Gibbs in the next year in our town, you know. Then going on to high school, boy is what kept me safe. Boy is what stood his ground and fought back. Boy is what boys who fought the bullies back. Boy is who girls had crushes on, even though I wasn't really into girls at that point in time. Boy is what helped me survive high school. Then I get to college, and I'm in this awesome program studying theater, eventually musical theater, at the University of Northern Colorado. And it's my first semester, and it's my first show, actually, I realized this, one act. And it's about Stephen King, it's based off of a Stephen King novella. And I'm one of the kids in the class. And I was given the direction to tap out of nervousness on the desk. And I remember everything kind of zoned out. And it wasn't like this was a big moment, but I just remember tapping, and all I could see was the wrist. That's all I could see. And that's when I realized that boy had to up his game. So the wrist went from this to this. And I know it's kind of ridiculous, but to me, this was sissy, this was man and boy. And that included puffing up my shoulders. That included making sure that my hips didn't swivel when I walked. That included making sure that I always stayed down on this register of my voice to make sure that people knew that I was not a sissy. And you know what? For me, it worked. Boy got cast. Boy was confident. Boy was grounded. When boy spoke, people listened. Boy was responsible for my sexual awakening. I started having sex with women for the most part, and then I transitioned eventually. But boy was the one that was bringing the milk, was the milkshake that brought all the girls to the yard. Boy had me leaving college confident and ready to tackle my dreams of being on Broadway and conquering the New York theater scene. And I got to New York, and boy did just that. Boy auditioned, boy booked jobs, boy held down survival jobs. Boy was in these streets being the thoughtiest of thoughts. Boy was being a bad partner. Boy was being a good partner. Boy made really shitty mistakes. Boy was having the best time of his life. And so was Jason. And so was Sissy cheering us on from the side. Then in 2012, I got an email from a writer named Michael R. Jackson saying that I was recommended. Shout out to shout out to Randy Blair for recommending me for his show called A Strange Loop. And I immediately felt drawn to him. In that email, I was called to come and meet with him in audition, and he sent me a bunch of YouTube clips of his music. I listened to the music and I thought, oh my God, this dream is happening. I've already done Broadway, but the dream of being drawn to another artist's work, being drawn to feel like I'm supposed to be a part of that work, was all happening inside. And from there, in that interview, which wasn't an audition, I realized that I was being vetted. Now, a little thing you should know about A Strange Loop. A Strange Loop is a musical that is about a Black musical theater writer, writing about a Black musical theater writer, writing about a Black, and so on and so on. Very meta. But it is very challenging. The material is very, 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 very gay and queer, and very, 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 very Black as fuck. It is material that has scared a lot of people off in the past, and I wasn't scared. So I started a journey, a 7-year journey of being a part of this show. 2 years ago was the first time that we brought Raja Feather Kelly in, the choreographer I mentioned earlier. And I have to say that I always have to refer to him as Raja Feather Kelly. Even when I'm talking to him, I will say to him, hey, Raja Feather Kelly. Raja Feather Kelly is this director, choreographer, movement, acting, theater, performance art guru angel. And this was the first time that he came in to help us with something. Now, another thing you should know about the show is the fact that there's one central character and the rest of the ensemble are called the Thoughts. And we represent his thoughts and everyone in his life. So Raja coming in was the first time that we'd ever given language, physical language, to what a thought could be. In that vocabulary of the language was the spectrum of masculinity and femininity. Right? And we were allowed to express ourselves in that way. One of the things that Raja always told us was he wants us to bring our fierceness, our fear, and our faggotry. And I was here for it. I had the best time. Now, we're in the rehearsal space at Playwrights Horizons for a big splashy New York production after 7 years. And I'm now the dance captain, which means I'm also responsible for making sure that everyone looks good and the choreography looks good. And I have no idea what to do. It's a very specific pass that's in the opening number, and it's very femme forward on the scale of masculine and feminine, whatever that means to you all. For me, it meant that I had to kind of break my shell a little bit. And to the naked eye, I was hitting the steps. I was doing everything right, but it felt not false. It just felt untrue. And I saw Raja looking at me, Raja Feather Kelly looking at me. I'm looking around. I have no idea how to make this feel a little bit more authentic to me. And then all of a sudden, it hits me. The only person that can help me achieve my goal is the person that, when I think about it, I cannot believe that I never invited the whole 7 years. The one person that was responsible for my imagination and my freedom and my instincts and my whimsy and my fantasy and my confidence, I never asked to come along on the journey. So in that moment, I decided to invite Sissy to come forward. And she did. And she showed out. And she showed up. And when Sissy came through, Boy came in too, Jason came in. And at that moment, something clicked with me, something clicked with the piece, something clicked with Raja. And from that moment on, Sissy was ever present in my process and the performance of A Strange Loop. A Strange Loop, if you don't know, ended up becoming one of the biggest hits of last year. We also just won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama back in May. And I say that all to say is that yes, Sissy came through. But the interesting thing is that my parents came and saw the show. My parents were super supportive. And my mom said something to me where she said, it was so great to see someone finally let my child be all of that. And that's when I realized that that was a dream that I had never really thought about. And not only was it a dream that I never thought about, the one show, when I finally invite the person responsible for my magic, when they finally get their moment, is when the show got their moment. And what I do realize is that I will think about the cast and the crew and the whole process being one of the best things that's ever happened in my life. But aside from that, I will always make sure that Boy's on stage with me. And I will always, always make sure that I will never walk on stage without Sissy.
Jason, VEASEY, everyone. Amazing. You can find the cast recording of A Strange Loop on all platforms right now, so please do a search for that. Find that. It's an amazing show. Jason was coming to you live from Colorado Springs, though he is based in New York. And like we said before, all of the information you might want to know is listed in the video description below. And now is the opportunity to ask these storytellers questions, give them comments, tell them what you thought about them at the after party. And Eric will be joining us, Nicole will be joining us. Stick around, it is all happening right now. Thank you to all of our storytellers, Jason VEASEY, VICO ORTIZ, Catalina Ritzinger, and TOFER Clark. I'm Reba Sparrow. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please stick around for the after party. It's always an amazing time. All right, everyone. Amazing job. You did it. Woo! Okay, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves. How's everyone? So, Nicole's going to be moderating, but I can't help but read these comments that have been coming in. Everyone just thought it was so amazing. Nicole, go for it. What have we got?
Oh my gosh, everyone has been so supportive, so encouraging. Obviously, it was, I'm just looking at some of these last couple comments that came in just about Jason's story in particular. Jack said that Sissy sounds alive and beautiful. Boy sounds powerful and in charge. That separation of self is so interesting. The self and the super self, which I think is a really cool way of kind of describing our own selves. The super self, I love that. So let's see some questions that have come in.
I moved to a different place for the after party, or do I have to stay here?
Stay right here.
You look great.
Is it like, okay, good. I won't go anywhere.
Yeah, you're all good. I know Topher, did
Wait,
you...
can I go get some wine really? Can I get some wine really quick?
Go get the wine.
Yeah,
Of
get
course. And Topher, did you bring one of your devices to share with us?
I brought 3.
Oh my gosh, show and tell, please.
Let's
Let's
begin.
How many penises do you have?
Okay, so
That was
the
funny, I
one
got
from
that.
Switzerland, the first one I ordered, that I drove to an hour to come and get, the custom color and everything. This is the ring that goes around your scrotum, testes, and penis go through here. Once you have that on, the best thing to do is add some lube in here. And then this is the sheath or the cage. It slides into place, and I probably won't find the right key. You have a key to slide in, and that's not the right one. You can unlock it and lock it.
Wait, Topher, I have a question.
The right
this
key
one-
just
Wait, hold on,
made me think,
slow
have
down,
you ever
slow down.
had an incident where you can't find the right key to let yourself out?
That was going to be my question.
Not as of yet, because these keys, they all, all of them come with two keys, one lock, two keys.
Okay.
So this is kept upstairs in the bedroom, but then I keep the spares in my truck. So just in case. But you can get these off. I've actually seen some stuff on FetLife where a guy was not able to get his off, and his was made of metal versus this is bioresin. His was made of metal, and they had pictures of him using, I forget the name of the tool, but he had to cut the sucker off.
Does everyone segue? Does everyone know what FetLife is? I know maybe some folks don't. It's basically like a Facebook for kinky people. So it's another social media platform.
I thought this whole time since we know each other you were saying that life, so I thought you were talking about a veterans association.
No, F-E-T,
like fetish.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question?
It is like a Facebook for kinksters. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Jason, what's your question?
So
yes, I have a question for you, Topher. In terms of logistics, and forgive me if I'm assuming I'm not crossing a boundary, are these one size fits all? And if that is the case, I'm assuming that the chastity thing is for when you're not aroused, and is part of the excitement making sure that you don't get aroused, because if you do get aroused, that becomes a fit problem.
Okay, that
makes sense?
Yes, it does make sense. That's sort of multifaceted. They do make different sizes. This is called the Nano. I'm not exactly well endowed. This one is, let's see the difference.
Yes,
this black one is called the Nub.
Okay.
So, the head of the penis is in here, so the shaft is basically getting pushed back even more.
So you put it on while you're flaccid. Is that what you're asking, Jason? Like you put it on while you're...
Well, I'm assuming that you're putting it on flaccid, but I'm wondering because everyone's different when they become erect or not, particularly with the nub, whether you're upsized or not, is also the appeal that the more you get aroused, the more of a problem it could become with the fit?
Yes.
Okay.
Because with the nub, what happens for me is the erection is sort of inside the body. And I know it's there. And it's maddening the fact that I can't touch it or feel it or anything. But that's part of it. To me, sex is like 90% brain. Brain is the biggest sex organ. This is the next size up. And when I get an erection with this, it kind of comes out the side. There's another size up from this. I think there's 2 more sizes up from this, maybe 3. But yes, you can order what size is going to fit you. You can pick the size ring that you want based on how thick your junk is and everything.
Sure.
And different companies have different ways of fitting. There's different ones. I prefer this one out of Switzerland because there's so many different ways. And I even mix and match. I'll use a black ring and put the Halloween time, or actually Locktober, if anybody's heard of Locktober. That's where you lock up for the entire month.
What the fuck? Well, I'm like locked up in quarantine. I've never been this calm. I don't know. I feel like I've absolved all the sins I have acquired throughout my time. This time
You're a better man than me, Topher, because I can't and I won't.
Wait, hold on, Topher. So you showed Sorry, Topher, you showed a ring, and it seemed like a separate piece. Is the ring for your balls? Like, what is that? Yeah, what is that?
Is it a cock ring?
Go through here.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get your balls and scrotum through here, you take your penis, slide it through there, and then you want to get some lube in there and rotate it around. Then after that, you lube up the inside of the tube.
Okay.
The tube goes over your penis and, well, like that, locks into place.
Okay.
So now, that's why it's called the ball trap, because your balls are now trapped here. And then you lock, wrong way. Lock, and you're stuck there.
Wow.
I got this one because in North Carolina, you have to wear blaze orange to go hunting. So when I go hunting naked, I'm covered.
Learn something new every day.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if any of the storytellers are watching the chat. Nicole, are you?
Just said something similar. Thanks for the info. An older lady here who still loves to play always wondered how you use a cock cage. So, we're all learning every day something new. It's great.
Topher, I was literally thinking of like medieval, like iron, like massive lock and key. Like, I don't know what, like, clearly, this is very new to me, but wow, it's so modern and cute.
Yeah. Does anybody else? I can't remember, Topher, if I
Cute.
said this to you, if I just said it to Eric. When I think about chastity belts, I think of Robin Hood Men in Tights. Were you? Like Maid Marian has this huge contraption, these like
I was just
granny
thinking that.
panties. Yeah. That's what I think about.
There's a couple companies that currently make those, and they're pretty high tech. They're also high dollar. I think they're like $3,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's just heavy, I'm sure.
What? How
There's
much?
one that is for sale that I've seen in Dubai that is diamond encrusted, and I think it's like $100,000 or something like that.
That's what I would require.
Same. Yeah, bedazzled all the way.
Bedazzled.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, I would. I'm not paying $100,000, but I'll put some sparklies on these.
It's almost like the chastity. It's almost, I would put it on the same umbrella as like discipline, edging, or maybe not even active edging, but like the discipline of having to be aware of your penis. Because I think the thing that's so interesting about your story is that, yes, most men on the planet are trained. We know that we have a penis, but being aware of your penis is something that is not in our conscious as men. To be aware it's almost like when it's taken away, we're finally aware of it.
It's so exciting to know that it's locked. I can't touch it unless I unlock, and it just magnifies it. And you said one of the key words that a lot of guys in male chastity will participate in, and that is edging. I don't allow myself full orgasms. Usually I'll do a ruined orgasm, if y'all know what that is. That's basically right when you get to the point you stop. So that way I'm still keeping my prostate healthy, but I'm not having full release. And what it does is there's a huge benefit for your partner in the relationship. For me, a woman, because if I can't screw, what am I going to focus on? I'm going to focus on her. Whenever I was in chastity with my wife, I was, so focused on her, and, my oral sex skills got pretty darn good. As I was told.
Get it, Topher. Well done.
And then I paid more attention to her, because if you really think about sex between man and woman, usually the time is directly related to the time he gets erect till the time he ejaculates.
Sure.
After that, generally you're done. With this, you're not. It can go on for weeks, and it's fantastic.
Well, speaking of a time frame, one person did specifically ask how long you typically wear it at a time.
With these, I wear them 3 days, and then I wash. And by washing, I get into the shower, and I use Dawn dishwashing detergent liquid, because it's really good for cutting through the lube that I use, which is a baby oil gel with cocoa. And I get in the shower, take my shower, and then at the very end, I unlock and I do everything I can to not let the water hit my penis, because I don't want that sensation. And sometimes when the water does hit my penis, it's like a freaking electrical shock going through my body. Like, holy crap, that feels good. Any guys listening, thinking about that, I mean, a spray of water on your penis is like, holy crap, that is fantastic. And that's what I do. So 3 days I will clean, but I've gone 2-3 weeks locked up with maybe an edging once, but clean. You have to be clean.
Okay, wait. 3 days in chastity. How do you pee?
These come with, there's a hole at the end.
Oh.
Okay.
So you want to line up your urethra with that hole. And in some cases, it works. Other times, you're like a sprinkler on the 4th of July. So you have to be careful.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so today I went out on my second date with a girl that I just started talking to a few
Today?
weeks ago.
You're just
Today
now
was our
telling us
second
this.
date.
Okay, go on.
And so she watched the show. I'm hoping she'll still talk to me tomorrow. Right? But I had to go to the bathroom today, so just went to the urinal, and you spread your legs and you pull it out, and I'll kind of check how it's lined up, and then just let a little bit go out, and if it's good, then just go. I've been on, the highways around here, 70 miles an hour, and have to pee so bad, and, get an old coffee cup and slide it there and just go.
I mean, who hasn't done that?
Like an icebreaker also. Just like meet on a second date and then just be like, yo, I'm doing a show tonight, come check it out. And then just be like, yo, do you still are you into this? Like, are we
Topher's new woman, listen to what he said. He's really good at paying attention to you.
I told her that I was going to send her an article that sort of listed, bullet statement, some of the benefits that women notice that their man in chastity do. And the thing is, I do. I'm not worried about having an orgasm because that's not my goal. I'm locked up. I'm not going to worry about that. But I'm sure as hell going to worry about her.
Yeah, awesome. Before we keep going, I want to give a shout out. Thank you, Bob Flynn, for the super chat. Super chats are still pouring in, so thank you very much to that. I know Nicole is moderating these chats, but I see my name. Somebody said that they liked that I spilled the wine.
Did you want to get to the...
Eric's like, I liked it too, because that's an indicator of how drunk you are. I am not drunk.
I didn't say a thing. Not a thing. Should we get quickly, before continuing with the Q&A, to the winners?
We do. We want to get to the winners of the Missionary and Clone-A-Willy basket, and as well to the Manta and the. I always want to. For some reason, when I say Manta, I want to be like the Pinta, the Nina, and the Santa Marina. But we can't talk about Christopher Columbus right now. That's not politically correct.
I think that was the Pilgrims anyway, wasn't it? Or was that?
What?
I forget who was who. Oh no, they were the Mayflower.
That was Christopher Columbus. Those three ships.
You're right.
The
It
Pilgrims
was.
were the Mayflower.
I forget whose vote is who. You're all right.
It was. I am not pro-Columbus. But anyway, as we've established, I'm a little tipsy. This Limbaflex, like, did y'all understand? Like, this has a wire inside of it. This is a personalized dildo. This thing is amazing, and you can put it into a strap-on, and it like suctions. Well, it was suctioned to my coffee table, but it can suction to anywhere, the shower, all the things. So, first off, though, we're gonna give away this basket of Clone-A-Willy and these missionary.
Oh no!
Chocolates.
Well, don't break it.
Don't
They're all
worry,
right.
they're safe. They're safe.
All right.
Do you want to read the confession, or
Yeah.
do you want me to? Okay.
I'll read
all
the
right,
confession.
you read the confession.
Not the name, but so the winner of the chocolates, the confession is this. Wait a second. Yes. My Dom decided he wanted to do a cooking show. A private one. Camera on. He brought out some vegetables, he wanted to cook them, and I was the oven.
Yes.
He went through the whole cooking show shtick, inserting vegetables inside me, and having me taste them after. It was hot and silly and amazing. It really makes me look at veggies quite differently now.
I've always wanted my own cooking show. Congratulations to whoever that was. We have responded to your text. You are the winner of this Missionary Chocolates basket with this Clone-A-Willy kit.
Love it.
Fun times. All right, who's getting this Manta? Not these that I've played with, by the way. They're getting ones that are in their original boxes. Oops, I turned it on.
You want the Reba touched one.
I mean, if you want the ones that have been on my partners and in my holes, that'll cost you extra.
That's a Patreon subscription right there.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
All right. So the winner of the Fun Factory. Here's the confession. Settle in. This is a bit of a long one, but it's good. Confession. I had flown from Seattle to Virginia to stay with my girlfriend, who was stationed at one of the army bases over there. She had previously been in South Korea for 4 years prior at her duty station. I was going to stay with her for 5 days. I have never fucked so much in so many different ways. She even brought a candy tart bra and G-string. You know, like the kind that like our strings of candies.
We saw those in Rome. I'm sure they're everywhere. But do you remember we saw those in Rome?
I do remember.
Okay, yeah.
The deal was she was going to wear the bra and I would wear the string, and we would feast on candy and sex. I smell sex and
candy.
Oh, wait, copyright, it's YouTube. We can't do that. They'll take it down. She had successfully eaten all the candies on my G-string, so now it was my turn to eat the candies of the bra. I've never done this before, mind you. I was doing fairly well up until the end. On one of my last bites to get this pesky candy off, I pulled the string back super far with my teeth, and it slipped out of my teeth and snapped her on her boob. And it left a welt and a red scar.
Oh.
Ooh.
Boob pain is real, y'all. Some are more sensitive than others, but okay, wait, but I digress. Winner, congratulations.
Enough to win you some Fun Factory toys.
Oh, it sticks really well. It wouldn't come off of the coffee table. I'm excited for you, whoever you are. This is amazing. Wait, do you want to speak to this? You've used this device.
Hello.
Or not.
Sorry, is that a dad joke? Do I want to speak to this? Hello, Manta. I have used you before, and let me tell you, you are the real deal. I'll talk to you more in private.
Okay, so I really love it. First of all, I love everything that Fun Factory does. That's a pretty bold statement, but it's actually true. All of their products are manufactured in Germany, and I just have a soft spot in my heart for everything German. Hey, Catalina, I'm talking to you.
I know.
Yeah. But seriously, all of their products are fantastic. And I just get really excited because often sex toys are catered towards those with vaginas or vulvas. I know there are lots of sex toys out there for penis owning people, but it doesn't seem like. But it seems like there's like a lot of shame associated with that or around that. It's not advertised as much.
I think so.
Yeah, and so I get really happy.
Particularly the penis having men that identify as heterosexual.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I just.
You know?
I get really happy when Fun Factory, actually I specifically requested this time from them because I really have heard very good things about this toy over and over again from different people who have used it, and we've advertised this on the show before. Yeah. And as you know, I feel kind of like I'm womb-splaining this penis toy because I don't have a penis, but
I see in the comments Smiley Bead, who, by the way, is also a chastity user or player with, it looks like, from earlier in the chat, said, have to get myself a manta now. Don't forget that Fun Factory, if you go to funfactory.com or funfactoryusa.com, you get 20% off with the code MYSTERYBOX.
Yeah, use the code.
But I have a thing I was going to say, based on what you were saying, and Jason, sort of you as well. It's interesting, and I don't know the history of things too much, but I feel like there was a turning point because it used to be a point of shame for women to have any kind of sex toy, and I'm sure for men. So basically, everybody to have sex toys. It was basically an admission that I can't get laid on my own, and at some point, it became almost empowering for women to have sex toys, and no longer a point of shame. But Jason, you're right that for. And I apologize again. What I mean is vagina havers, not women specifically. But
sure.
but for penis havers, that shame is still there. Like I know that. Should I mention other companies' names? We've all heard of Fleshlight and things like that, or even the Tenga eggs. But there's this feeling that like that men masturbating is ew, gross. Ugh. Women masturbating, oh, that's like sexy and heavenly and lovely. But gosh, the whole masturbation positive movement can do a lot more to bring attention. I feel like I'm stumbling over my words, and I apologize for that.
No, don't apologize for that.
Not to, Eric. We get it. We know what you're talking about. It's totally true. And I completely agree with the whole, like, masturbation in general has been so stigmatized in such like a negative and dirty way. Even for myself, like, even saying masturbation for a long time was like, oh shit, like, that's really private and personal. And now I'm like on my Instagram, like, yo, did you masturbate today? Like, I just feel like it's really important to, like, we all have the right to our pleasure. And whether you're a vulva haver, whether you're a penis haver, whether you're a different, type of genitalia haver, everyone, everyone deserves pleasure, and we're not.
Well, I
shame out,
Yeah, I feel like, especially, I want to clarify something. When we say people have a penis, I'm specifically referring to those people who have a penis that identify as binary, heterosexual, straight men.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Because the thing about it, which I thought was, again, I hate to harp on it, but that was so brilliant about TOFER's testimony, is as a binary penis owner, right? We're gonna say that our sexuality is actually we lack ownership, and particularly the y'all straights. We are told about the virility of our penis. We are told about the power of the penis. We are told about what we should expect with that. But in terms of actually really figuring it out and coming to a discovery about the divinity of what you have between your legs, it's a long time coming, particularly for binary straight men. I feel like I'm even more advanced than my straight counterpoints in general, and even still I have things to learn in terms of what I have to release, what I can grab onto, what's coming from within, and what's coming from society. So hearing Topher talk about his choice to follow his gut and how that led to him being a better partner sexually, and I would imagine as a person in general, maybe it's in him listening and paying attention and other aspects of your life, to hear this straight man who has a penis talk about how he learned a lot from a choice that he made, and a choice that he made in terms of taking ownership over his own sexuality and what his penis meant to him. It's very cool, and I think fascinating and interesting.
Yeah, I
And
think
I've
something.
noticed it makes me less selfish. Because before, it was all about me. How many women I could, back whenever I was a teenager, what all I could do, I was selfish. I didn't care about their pleasure or anything. But now it took that selfishness away, and I try to take ownership of I'm losing my words too, Eric. I'm not explaining it well.
It's been a bit of a night.
Here,
Yeah.
let's go over.
Oh, I'm fine. Okay.
Yeah. I think something that you touched on, Jason, is that the message that I'm receiving as a woman, it's interesting because, going back to the whole masturbation thing, and that, like what Eric was saying, like it's gross for men to do, or cis binary men to do that. I think there's been such a stigma placed on cis men, cis hetero binary men, that their sexuality is aggressive and predatory, and that's the message I receive anyway. I don't think anyone was actually saying that, but so I think to have been told that in like a society, in like a big picture society kind of way, and then coming to terms, and then having to come to terms with like, wait, I'm an individual, but still acknowledging, it's so complicated, I guess is what I'm saying, because you don't want to ignore privilege, and you don't want to ignore
statistically straight cis hetero men do tend, I believe, I don't have the research in front of me, but do tend to be the sexual predators that are known about. And I'm saying that as if there's like a huge other demographic that's not known about. I think those numbers are there that say like, yeah, if there is a sexual predator, if there is somebody who is committing sexual assault, chances are it's going to be a straight hetero man.
Right.
So there's precedent to look at, and it's difficult to divorce that from the individuality.
And I'll say something maybe controversial, just a thought that came into my head as I hope that we're all friends here, us and our hundreds of friends that are watching, that I wonder how different that would be if there was more sex positivity earlier on, like how much sexual aggression came about because of repression and shame and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, not just sex positivity, but also like less gender normativity. Like a lot of the gender like normative situation goes into that like immediate divide the second you're born, and the second you're born you're assigned gender at birth based on your genitalia, and then it goes into like just complete two split ways, right? Which to some people it really works out, but if we were more comfortable with like talking about sexuality and gender in like a very just like open way, we wouldn't have to be like having to backtrack, like, wait, do I have this thought because of what society has been telling me to for like the longest time, or is this something that I've like had to like learn, learn and relearn again?
Yeah.
So yeah, it goes both ways, both with like sexuality and gender. Like if we were born just like humans and just like we're like explore, go, whether we're like born in blue and pink, and it's just
it will go all ways.
Yeah.
If I could say for anybody listening, and Vico, Reva mentioned in your intro that we first heard you on the Gender Reveal podcast, and for anybody listening, it's a fantastic podcast hosted by Tuck Woodstock, who says that the podcast is all about trying to figure out what the hell gender is, and Tuck always ends. Tuck's a fantastic interviewer and gets great guests. And Tuck always ends the interviews with the question, what do you see as the future of gender? And so many people have so many different visions for what that is, but it's so much more than at least me as a cis binary identifying person has even envisioned. So to be able to be open up to the idea of gender being presented or erased or performed in different ways in the future depending on who's talking about it. And Vico, I think that goes a lot to what you're saying, is like finding ways to erase that or address those topics earlier in life so it just becomes normalized and not something that you have to unlearn and then retrain. And anyway,
it just comes with so much expectation. That's essentially it. You know, it just like it feels like it comes with so much expectation, and then like it's so much noise that you have to like learn to like put that noise down and be like, who am I? Like really, like who am I without all the expectations that society has assigned to me the second I was born? And that can reflect it in like job, hobbies, sex, you know, everything. So yeah. I mean, that's just my POV on it. So
Yeah.
if I was born without being like, you must love like glitter and princesses and Barbies and all that shenanigans, like it would have taken probably less of time for me to be like, oh, interesting.
As opposed to, you could do that, you must love this, but you can also love these things as well too.
Yeah, like just like here's the options versus like giving me like, you must only know this, you know? It's
well, I think it's crazy, you know, like this whole conversation in this section of the conversation, I mean, that book, The Feminine Mystique, right? Mm-hmm. Which in itself also can be a little bit dated, but when you really think about it, there's also so much mystique. And when I say mystique about a masculine mystique, I truly believe that the secrets or questions that women have about, or humanity has about divine femininity and feminine energy and what it means to be a woman, those are questions because of oppression, right? Mm-hmm. There are also questions about divine masculinity, what it means to be a man, what it means for which we actually all inherently have in all of us, feminine, masculine energy. But those questions are not because of oppression, they're because of assumption and being put on a pedestal, and also a narrative. So a lot of men out there, there's more information about what it is to be a man, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. So you have a lot of men or people who identify as men who've been receiving information and regurgitating information as men, but have no idea what it means to them personally as an individual, what it means to be a man, or to inhabit the masculine energy for themselves. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and when it comes to sexuality, there were so many men out there who also don't know what they're doing or don't know anything about their penises or anything about their sexual beings, because they are told, they're, you know, the narratives from porn or Mad Men or John Wayne or whatever is saying boom, 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 and then they're walking through life not having any sort of scope about how they actually feel about their own sexuality.
Yeah.
Straight, gay, non-binary, pansexual, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if this runs in line with what you're talking about. I grew up in a unique household. My mom was German, and my parents were very open. Nudity, sex, it was all open. And my mom had a brother who was gay, and he was with a guy who was fantastic. So I got to see growing up a heterosexual relationship that was fantastic, and I got to see a gay relationship that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And something my mom kind of drilled into me was, your penis does not make you a man.
Sure.
That's not what your penis is about. And it just, she made me understand that was not important. I asked her one time, I said, hey, can I get a new car? And she said, why? I said, well, it's got a stick, you being a stupid teenager. I said, well, it's got a stick shift. And, you know, I want something to do with my hand. And she looked at me and she said, well, jack off. And that's, the penis is not important. It doesn't make the man.
Mm-hmm.
Mom,
And,
your mom, no.
yeah.
Your mom is cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but we had a swimming pool, and in the summertime, all my friends, there'd be like 20 of us, we would drive back onto our property, back to where the swimming pool was, and I always had to say, y'all stay here, because I gotta check and see if they're in there. And 9 times out of 10, my parents were in there buck naked. And my mom would see all my friends, come on, water's great, come on in, come on.
Topher, did you grow up in the South? I know you're for everyone still on. Thanks everyone for joining us here at the after party. Topher is currently in North Carolina, and the reason I ask is because I'm from a military family, and I spent a portion of my childhood.
I didn't know that.
I spent a portion of my childhood in Georgia, very deep South, redneck, swamplands. And my experience there was very conservative, very what's the word I'm looking? Very racist.
Sure. Yes.
Very sex negative. You know all the things.
Reba, I didn't know you were a military rat too.
How did we not know this about each other?
I don't know that.
I
Do you even know each other at all?
Do we even know each other at all? We've known each other for 20 years, but like, it was condensed. It was a condensed period of time. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, and in fact, Jason, the reason why we landed in Colorado was because my mom grew up there, and my dad was stationed after Georgia was stationed in North Carolina, and my mom was like, fuck that noise. I am not staying in the South because of the racism we experienced and because of the negativity, and it was so conservative. So we went back to North Carolina while he finished out that 3.5 years in North Carolina. But so both of them doesn't matter about my parents. But anyway, the reason I asked that, Topher, is in my experience, it's very stereotypical, and I still have family in Georgia in the Deep South, and they are also conservative. I love my family. I'm not saying anything negative about them, but it's interesting to me how sex positive and liberal your parents sound, and I know that that's based on a stereotype and a story that I have. And so I'm wondering, like, did you grow up in the South? And it's just, I'm wondering a little bit about that and your experience around that and the conservative nature and the sex negativity sometimes in the South.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I've been in North Carolina for well over half my life. Love it here, and thankfully, very recently, we've had a lot of changes. My parents brought me up sex positive. They weren't racist, but they taught me about people with bad attitudes. And it doesn't matter what color you are, if you're polka dotted or anything like that, where you're from, if you have a bad attitude, and that means the way they worded that was unkind to other people. My parents were very giving people, and very accepting people. And I hope I have some of that in me. I try to. But coming down here to the South years and years ago, yeah, I remember that. And I've seen plenty of trucks around here in the past year with Confederate flags and American flags both flying on there. And we're not going to see that much more, and frankly, I kind of like it. I kind of wanted to put, the hashtags we were going to put on our names.
Yeah.
I also wanted to put hashtag Bubba Wallace, because if anybody knows who Bubba Wallace is, he's the number 43 driver for NASCAR. He's the only current black driver, and he spearheaded to get rid of the Confederate flags at the NASCAR races. And yeah, he's my driver now. I definitely look up to him.
Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah. I wanted to talk to Catalina about this too. So I know I mentioned earlier that you grew up in Utah, but you were definitely not born in Utah, and you come from a very, shall we say, cultural family, European family. And I also, because of the military, I also spent a lot of my formative years in Germany, which is why I said, yay, fun factory, made in Germany, I love everything German.
I can't believe we never talked about where in Germany?
Kaiserslautern. Ramstein Air Force Base.
Ramstein Air Force Base.
Ramstein.
Wiesbaden, Germany. Lindsay Air Force Base.
Oh my God. We need to talk. Wiesbaden,
No
yeah.
need to talk. No need to figure shit out.
And so that, I think about all of this because, Eric and I are interviewed on podcasts quite frequently and things like that. And so I've had a lot of time to be very introspective when people are asking me questions about, you're so open about sex and talking about stuff and whatever. And I was like, it's because I was a kid in Germany and, everything is just so sex positive and normalized. And, anyway, all that to say, sex is just normal. I don't think we're spearheading anything. It's just normal for me. That's how I feel. And so, with you and your parents and your upbringing, curious. I don't think I've ever asked you this as a friend, so I'm asking you now in front of lots of people. How has that affected your sexuality or openness about it or not openness about it? I'm not sure.
So it's really it's interesting because my mom's from Argentina and she was went to school with nuns and shit, real strict shit. I grew up Catholic. I did the baptism, first communion, confirmation, and then I kind of grew up and was it's not for me. And my dad is Austrian, and I was born in Austria. And it's, I just remember going to Austria as a teenager and in their not kids magazines, for their teens, say 17 magazine in Austria, which is just an example. In the centerfold, they have these for every issue they have binary man and woman, both sides, and they're both naked completely, and it's a photograph of both of them, and then it says different things about them, fun facts about these people. And I remember my sisters and I were in these stores, in one of bookstores, and we grabbed this magazine and we're holy shit, that's a penis! Oh my god! But at the same time, growing up with my mom, I had both sides. I had the sex positive side, and I had the more conservative side about sex. And actually, my dad is the one who gave me the talk, which now that I'm older seems kind of weird. But he did it his way away and we went for a hike in the forest, and he brought some books. And it's funny, it was actually the first place where I learned about masturbation. He told me about, he was like, hey, like, you know, sometimes you like play with yourself, and like that's like normal. And I was like, oh, Dad, I play with myself all the time. Josie sometimes doesn't want to play, and so I got the Barbies by herself, and then we play, and then it's just me, and I make up the stories, and I'm really good at playing with myself. And my dad was like, not quite, but you know, so it was really interesting. It was always just this really like, with my dad, I felt like we could talk about it, but it was also like weird, like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
And my mom attached a lot of emotion towards everything, which I blame her a lot for how I act as a human now every time I have a hookup. Because she was like, oh, you know, you're supposed to only share these experiences with people that you love, and you want to, you know, share your body with somebody who respects you, which, yes.
Yes,
But
and.
also, I don't want to fucking catch feelings every fucking time and then get screwed over. Like, example, Exhibit A, right now. So I'm kind of like, okay, so now I attach feelings to every human who I let inside my body. And so I have that. And then also, you know, part of my story with the beginning was with Riley, and what I didn't tell you guys is that I was grounded for life because my parents found me. My mom walked in on me and Riley. And so
I'm so
the
sorry
thing
to
was,
hear that you're
the
still
reaction from that
grounded.
was, my dad was like, you know, my mom said, oh my God, like, you know, I wouldn't be this mad if you had been talking about Riley for a while now and telling me that you had a crush on him, but this was just out of the blue. And my dad was like, yeah, I did stupid shit too when I was a kid, but I never got caught. And so, like, I had the, like, two really different sides.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find that, like, there's no wrong answer here, and I'm kind of associating, Vico, maybe you can speak better to this, but I'm not comparing the two, and also I could be very wrong, but like, I'm a person who's very sex positive, I guess. I don't even like that term because it's just normal. Just sex is just normal, whatever. But so I don't like labels in
It's a
general.
term until it's a term until we don't have to use it anymore.
Right, yeah. And I'm also a person who's like, I'm not gonna fuck you unless I really, really like you. Like, I have to have good, deep emotions for you in a romantic way also. I can't have sex with a friend. That actually really weirds me out. Like, if I'm, sometimes I volunteer at this sex club, not now, obviously, but when we're not in lockdown, and I'll see friends there, and, like, their penises will just be, like, hanging out, or, like, boobs, or whatever. It's not true, I really like boobs, but, like, if they're, like, vulvas are hanging out, and I'm like, whoa, boundaries, we're friends, or, like, you attend the show, this is just, I don't want to see you like that. It's a different energy. I have to be really romantically interested in you before I engage in a sexual activity with you. And I know lots of people aren't, and it sounds like that's what you're saying, Catalina, is that, like, that's something that you have, coming from maybe your mom's influence, but I don't even know.
Yeah, that's half and half though.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to say, like, is that influence? Is that where that came from? Or, like, is that just your constitution? Were you just born that way? I feel like that's my constitution.
You're saying Vico could speak to this?
I don't know. The reason I said Vico might speak to this, and I could be absolutely wrong in interpreting this very wrong, but I just heard Vico in your story say a lot about, like, BDSM and being because you were in relationships that sounded like more romantically attached, that then you were just like, I want to be romantically detached. We can be friends, but we can still fuck, and I still care about you, but it's different.
Yeah, like the majority of my friends and I have fucked, and
Right.
I am not dating any of my friends, and
Yeah.
I have no interest in dating any of them. I love them to pieces.
Yeah.
They definitely, like, 100%, like, we would go out with them, like, for lunch or coffee or hikes or whatever, but, like, that was friendship, and then fucking was fucking. There was
Right.
no correlation to one or the other, and I got way better at that post, understanding the balance between each, like very much like when we're hanging out, and when we're fucking, and we're not gonna do like a cute hike date and then go fuck. It's like we're hiking and we're getting to know each other as friends, and then when you wanna fuck, we'll fuck, but like there is no correlation between one or the other.
Right.
If things get, muddy and things start like kind of like develop in a way, then we'll address it. But I was very much like, I'm your friend first and hook up second. If this gets complicated, I'd much rather be your friend. And then we'll, whether there was time in between, I texted my mom about this and she was like, well, what if you catch? And I was like, my heart is completely frozen at the moment, so I am aware of that potential of maybe catching feelings, but I cannot right now. But if I do, then I will address it, and I'll be like, hey, actually, this whole friendship hooking up thing is not working for me right now. Like, I am catching feelings. If you are in the same boat as me, then let's see where this goes. If not, then we'll remove the other part, and then we can, like, maybe have a little bit of time to breathe, and then carry on with friendship. But yes, I know how I see how like the romantic, needing the romance on something can be, but for my end, just to have the fucking, the romance got really muddy. To break, to have those like, I needed to have that like very distinct like one or the other, because the staying over for breakfast or like going for dinner and then like coming over for sex, like it was too romantic, and I needed to be like very like, when we're having dinner and that's great, but we're not gonna take this as, it's just like we're having dinner, and then if you want to fuck, then we'll fuck. But it was very just like one or the other, and that worked for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm in quarantine, so I'm stuck here. So.
Yeah. Which is why this is so cool, like to hear just like these different perspectives and to know, because that's something that like, I really appreciate that about your story, Vico, because that's something that's completely out of my wheelhouse. And I love hearing it because I just, when we're in our own heads and in our own stories, we're just like, well, this is how the world works. And then we hear other people's perspectives, and if you're open to hearing that, it's eye-opening, and not that I didn't know that existed, but you put it in a way that I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm a little different than that, but I get it, and it's so relatable, and I just really appreciate it. So, yeah. Eric's been passing me notes this whole time.
I feel like we could continue this conversation forever. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
But I know the time is ticking on, and in some time zones it's getting very late. Everybody who's stuck around with us on YouTube, thank you so much for enjoying these stories, for hearing these stories, and for hanging out with us here during these conversations.
I do want to say one last thing, is that usually we've already announced, like, join us for our next show, which will be in a month. When we do our stage shows, when there isn't a pandemic, it's every other month, and we've been doing monthly live streams. We decided, since it's summer and people are getting out, we're not going to do a live stream next month in August. We're going to come back strong in September, but in August we are going to host a virtual silent auction. So that's our next project, and we've been getting really cool donations from amazing sex toy companies and amazing chocolate people, and a lot of virtual stuff that you'll be able to bid on. So that's coming on August 29th.
I wish we were getting donations from actual chocolate people.
Like Easter bunnies?
Yeah.
Like the Easter bunny. So stay tuned. And we're doing a live stream as well, so that we can showcase all of the items that are up for auction. Because many people in the arts are struggling financially. I don't want to play a victim, but we're just trying to do as much as we can to raise funds so that when the pandemic is over, we can come back very strong and continue to do our stage shows here in Portland. And I think we're going to continue to do these live streams because, like tonight we've had people from North Carolina, from Colorado, from Portland, from LA, and we're not limited to anyone. You could be you could be telling a story from anywhere in the world right now with us, and so we want to keep that going.
We've had audience from Australia and Israel, New Jersey, and past ones we've had Scotland. I'm sure a bunch of people.
Argentina. Nico is here from Argentina.
So thank you all for tuning in, and all of you storytellers, thank you so much for working with us and being so vulnerable to share your stories. This has really been an incredible night. I'm getting choked up. So thank you all, and we'll see you all next time.
Cheers.
I'm going to take us off the live stream.
Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll be hitting you up with Confession Corner coming soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.